this is your host Asan from IT Educator. Today we will be checking how to specify ignore files in Git. These are the files which we don't want Git to track in our version control system. So whenever we commit, these files will not be added to our repository and they will not be tracked as a result. So let's just start by creating a demo folder. I'll just name it git demo. We'll open git bash here. So let's just initialize a repository here. Okay, so I have initialized a repository. So to create we have to create a gitignore file. So to name it will be .gitignore extension. So Git, whenever we are about to commit, Git will automatically check this file for any files which we don't want to be tracked. So let's just open it. Okay, so if, for example, if I have a file name with the name file.txt, I include it in this file and save it, and if I create a file.txt and I create another file, let's just say file2.txt, and now let's see what will happen. I have a file with the name file.txt. I want this file to be ignored and not to be added to my repository. Let's just add files to our repository. Yeah, here you can see it states that this file is added to your ignore files. Let's just check out the status of our repository here. Yes, here you can see it only shows one file which in our staging areas, and the other files will be ignored due to our gitignore file. So another thing, to write comments in this file, for example, if I want to write some comments, I can use the hash symbol here. So for example, if there are other patterns as well. For example, a pattern would be, by patterns I mean you can specify specific file extensions you don't want to be tracked. For example, if I don't want any txt file to be added to my repository, what I will do is write static.txt. So I've just commented this pattern here as well. So all the txt files will be ignored. Let me just reset my staging area. So for that, what you have to do is type git reset head -- yes. So if I check my status, you can see my staging area has been cleared. Let me just clear it up for you. So I have two txt files now, but since I have included that no txt file is allowed, let me just create another file extension, but with another extension. For example, I'll name it cpp. Now let's just see what happens if I go and add these files to my staging area. Here you can see these two files will be ignored because they have the .txt extension. Now if I check my status, yes, it only shows one file in the staging area, which if I commit will be committed to my repository. All the other files will be not included. So since now I have if there is a file, there is a way if I want all the txt files to be included, but there is a specific one file which I want to be included and tracked, what I can do is write the exclamation mark in front of the file name. So this means that all the txt files will be included except this specific file. So let's just reset our staging once again and clear. So now if I add files to my staging area, I have not saved it probably, sorry. So let's just reset once again. I did not save my ignore file. So yeah, let's just add. You can see the file 2.txt has been removed from the ignore files. Now if I check my status, Here you can see the file2 has been included in our staging area, even though all the other txt files have not been included. Okay, so let's move on to another pattern. Okay, so in this pattern, what we can do is basically specify directories which we don't want to be included. For example, I have created a directory named temp, and I have a directory named temp1. So these contain two files, file.txt and file.cpp. So what I'll do is I'll say I don't want anything in the temp folder to be included in my version control system, in my repositories. So for that, what I have to do is write temp slash. This will ignore all the files in the temp directory. Let's just save it. Again, reset our staging area and add files. So now I have commented out all the above. So I only want the temp directory to be ignored. Here you can see it only showed the temp directory. Let's just check out the status. Yes, here you can see all the files have been added. Let's just rename these files, file4 and file5. Let's just reset our and add files. Check out the status. Here you can see none of the files, file4 and file5 are in our staging area. Why? Because we have we have written in our ignore files to ignore all the temp files in the temp folder. So let's just move on to another pattern. What if we want all the temp files, all the txt files in the temp directory to be ignored, not the cpp files? So for that we have to write a combination of these two patterns, temp slash static.txt. Ignore all the txt files in the temp directory. Let's just clear our staging area first and add staging files to our staging area and check the status. Yes, here you can see now we have a file.cpp in our temp directory, but not the file 5.txt. Why? Because it is a txt file. So another way, what if I want all the txt files not in the temp directory but in the subdirectories as well? So what I have to do is for that is temp slash static.txt. What this will do is, this means that ignore all the txt files in the directories. For example, wait a minute, what I have to do is add a static here as well. So what this will mean is ignore all the files not only in the temp directory but in its subdirectories as well. For example, if I create a subdir file and I create a file6.txt, let's just copy this from here, rename it file7. So now what will happen is it will ignore all the txt files in the subdirectories as well. Let's just clear our staging area, clear, git add, git status. Yes, what you see here is not only did it not ignore all the files in the temp, all the txt files in the temp directory, but also its subdirectories as well. For example, if I just comment out this one and check the previous, let's just see what happens with that. Will it include the some text files in the subdirectories or not? See, although we said that do not include any txt file in the thumb directory, but because we did not specify any subdirectories, we have a txt file in our staging area, even though we specified. So for that, what we have to do is use this pattern. So these are the few patterns which Git has provided for the ignore files. I'll leave a couple of links to basically a cheat file, and the link to the git-ignore documentation as well. Hope you liked the video.